Hey, welcome back on the Good Morning Artesia radio show as we're all here to talk about the news of the day and having some fun with all the different things that are going on. It's County Commission segment, and County Commissioner Stephen McCutcheon has joined us here in studio. Good morning, sir.
Morning. How are you?
Doing great. Why don't you pull that microphone a little closer to you? There you go.
There we go.
We got them from Radio Shack, and so they only work within a certain range. Jerry, you want to grab that microphone and do the same thing there? That's much better.
Is that good?
Seriously, we used to keep this place alive because of Terry over at, Radio Shack.
And it's not there.
It's not there. Right. So, we're still using the same stuff. Seriously, what does this say on the side of this headset?
There you are.
It says Radio Shack.
There you go. The good old days.
The good old days. Well, let's get into, first of all, the meeting yesterday. County commissioners had a chance to have a meeting yesterday. Stephen, what were some of the more significant things that county commissioners worked on yesterday?
So a couple of things. We're sure grateful for all of the rain, and it has put a strain on some of the county resources as far as material for roads and fuel for vehicles and things like that, or fuel for maintenance equipment. And so we were able to go yesterday, and we approved I think $1.75 million for road repair and things like that. So that was kind of a budget adjustment that we had to do. Luckily, we had the funds to do it, and we are sure grateful for the rain that caused the need. So road department, you should see them out there working, trying to get low water crossings fixed, trying to haul some material in there, trying to run the new blades and dozers and everything that we've been able to approve for them. So we're sure grateful to Oil and Gas for revenue, and we are really pleased with our road manager, Jason Burns. So
yeah, we made a quick trip down to Carlsbad Saturday, and I saw water running in a couple of those arroyos or draws that I don't recall having seen running before, but I'm sure they have. Right. But this time it seemed like most of the rain fell where it went into the arroyos and the draws, and it didn't do too much damage, at least in the Carlsbad area.
Up in the Texas Hill Country up there, they got about 6+ inches of rain in just 2 or 3 days. And so, we had a lot of the draws come down. They started releasing water from Avalon again. It did cause a little bit of trouble down here in Lakewood, where it washed the railroad tracks out. We've been working at the railroad for a little while to get some culverts put under there. After Brantley Lake went in, they went in and raised the railroad tracks down there, and when they raised it, they deleted all of the drainage that goes underneath it. So there used to be culverts that were under the railroad track, but those don't exist anymore. So you have the people in the Lakewood RV park down there that are they're right there on an island whenever it rains, and it comes down and splits and goes right around both sides of the RV park. But it actually went down, and we've been working at the railroad saying, hey, we need to drill some, we need to do some directional drilling and put some culverts in. 8 or 10 culverts would take a lot of water away. Well, the railroad tracks washed out over the weekend, so there's probably, 200 feet, 100 feet, something like that, of railroad that there's no ballast at all anymore. So they're repairing it, and they're going. We've got some stuff working with them, and we're trying to set up so that we can get some better drainage in that area. But I don't know of any rancher that's complaining. It's a little inconvenient when you can't come to town, and Rocky's coming down, and Seacrest is coming down, and a lot of those places over by Hope are running. But I tell you, we've been so long without rain. We'll just take all we can get, and luckily the good Lord's provided the rain, but also provided us the means to fix it and keep everybody moving.
Yeah, well, I bet this would be a good time for the railroad to put some culverts in while they're doing all that work. Is that still is that the Burlington Northern Santa Fe? They took that back, didn't they?
They did a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, something like that. Took it back from Southwestern Railroad. So.
Yeah, too bad they couldn't have sold that to the state of New Mexico. We could have the rail runner.
Oh, yeah, but nobody wants to come here.
So that's right. Yeah. I forgot.
I guess it would be as about effective as the rail runner we currently have.
That's right.
Okay. It would have cost less, but
point well taken.
That's right. That's right. So, well, those are important things to be able to do, and unfortunately, the resources are there to make a budget adjustment like that. So that's not going to do anything major.
No, our county manager and finance director Roberta, they really budgeted everything very, very tightly, especially with COVID and everything. So we're running fine. We've got a little surplus here and there. We don't have a lot to do all of the projects we'd like to do, but we are comfortable, and we're able to provide the services that are necessary for the citizens of the county right now.
Excellent. Now the governor spoke yesterday, And I don't know if you heard the angel singing right before she came on.
Is that what that was?
I am so sorry. I know I'm speaking to... I'm not going to get too much pushback on all of that. In what she talked about yesterday with the mask mandate for all indoor settings, the schools, and the healthcare workers, anything that came out of what the governor talked about yesterday that you see impacting the county or at a county level that the different county departments are going to have to deal with or do anything with that?
Well, the governor was pretty specific in stating that this was mainly for the schools and state agencies. Nothing was mentioned about the county agencies, and I think that was intentional because of the fact that the county's pretty sovereign in most of the things that we do. And so, of course, that is something that the county wants to make sure that we're protecting all of our clients and all of our folks that do business with us. And so I'm sure Stephen will agree as things move forward and we see this, we're keeping a tight monitor on the situation in our offices, and we're trying to do everything we can to protect our clients as they come in, and we call them customers, the citizens of the county. So we're being very careful about that, and we'll continue to monitor, and if we need to do something that we have to do, we'll have to do, but it will be under a lot of scrutiny and consideration before we take any drastic measure to make sure we do the right thing and still provide the services.
Right. Now, is the county involved with some of these vaccination clinics that are taking place, or is that all through the health department that are doing this, like the one that's at the Civic Center on Mondays and Fridays and all that?
We've got a great emergency manager, Jennifer Armendariz, and she's running that. She's working. I don't know exactly the relationship. I know that we have to do it under in conjunction with the Department of Health, but she's running the Eddy County side and setting up those clinics, and actually been vaccinating a few more people. We're over 50% vaccinated in Eddy County right now, which just I think 2 or 3 weeks ago we were 42. So she's been doing. She's been doing a great job.
Let's see if the state agrees. I just happen to have their page up there. They updated it yesterday. I mean, I hope you're right. Sometimes the reporting gets a little bit behind the actual numbers, but they're showing 51% on the first shot and 42% on being fully vaccinated. So maybe that's
maybe that was the figure we were given yesterday.
We finally got to that at getting that first shot.
And we have re-implemented the community vaccinations at the community center, at the Civic Center.
Right.
We did away with that for a while because we weren't having very many people show up, but because of this newest surge, we started that back again.
Right. So they're in at the county health office on Thursdays in Artesia, and then they're doing the Civic Center on Mondays and Fridays in the mornings down in Carlsbad. So, so that is going on as well. Let's find a. Yeah, we'll take a couple of other topics here that we want to go to. Jerry, you had asked me if I had talked about redistricting.
Right.
And my only comments that I've issued, listen to me like I'm important. The only thing we've really kind of talked about was right after the November election and Yvette Harrell won the 2nd Congressional District seat, the Speaker of the House, in a published article, said, well, we're going to fix that with redistricting so that can never happen again. Now, he later backtracked from that and no, we're going to do everything right. But this may be an aspect of the upcoming election season that people aren't real familiar with. Every 10 years, when the census data is gathered, there's an opportunity for state legislators to redistrict based on the population changes. And that process has been in the works now for a little while here in New Mexico as a result of the census data. Kind of bring us up to speed on where we are with the redistricting process right now.
Well, kind of to go back to the beginning of how this process is different this year. And in all due respect, as much as I can to the Speaker, there have been some changes made. And those changes were made during the 60-day session when they actually introduced a bill that would form a citizen redistricting committee. And it was very specific, and I can say it was very well thought out. And thanks to our Representative Greg Nybert, who served on that committee, served on the drafting of that bill, I should say, was very, very articulate and very good at putting the verbiage in there that we needed to try to help with that committee. The committee started meeting back in June, July, early part. They've had 10 meetings around the state and district and different areas trying to cover all of that. They have been very receptive. What that committee has been assigned to do is to collect all of the information from the citizens' input, and then at the end result is they will have to have 3 maps for each situation, such as the congressional districts, also the state and House districts in the state, and then also the public education districts. And so that's all a part of this process, Gene. And I can tell you, I've been in on, I think, 8 of the 10 meetings. They're very receptive. And one of the things that has been asked at every meeting is exactly how much weight that this process will bring to the legislature, because that has not changed. The one thing that has not changed is the legislature will have the ultimate decision in deciding how all of this washes out.
Right.
The thing that the committee has also emphasized is the fact that they feel like this will hold the legislature accountable in doing what they said they wanted to do, which is to try to eliminate the gerrymandering of the process as much as possible, and also give the citizens a voice in what they need to do. And so it basically said, when we put these recommendations in, it's going to be on the best available data, scientific, and input from the citizens. And if the legislature then refuses to take all this in consideration, as they have tasked us to do, then there may be repercussions from that come the election.
Yeah. Well, let's.
So we can only hope.
Let's hope that is. Now, the one, I read an article recently. Part of the state that's been growing has been this part of the state, Eddy County and Lee County specifically. How do you see that potentially impacting, say, the congressional districts and how they're
Actually, it's a very positive thing. And the positive part of that is that, believe it or not, Eddy County's #1. And we always know we're #1, right? And so, and we're #1 in many positive ways. And the positive thing is Eddy County showed more growth percentage-wise than any county in the state. And also, Lee County came in second. And so we all ask ourselves why, and I think the answer is obvious in that we have people down here that want to work. They're working. We have an industry that's very viable and important, and we recognize that. We have a huge responsibility. We often taught the idea that, we give the state lots of money. We give lots of money. But I think Eddy County and Lee County also look at that as a responsibility to the citizens of New Mexico.
Sure.
And we're trying to carry that message out there to those folks. But we do generate a third of the income for the state of New Mexico's coffers. And we saw in '84, we saw 8,485 population growth in Eddy County alone. A lot of the counties up north that don't have industries like we do, they're in decline.
Right.
And so I guess that's a long answer to a short question, but the answer is this: is that CD2 has seen and that's what Yvette Harrell's in, has seen an increase in population because of Eddy and Lee counties. So when the redistricting part starts, that's going to be interesting because they work from the northwest to the southeast as they come across the state on that. And population set out, as far as the criteria of the committee, population is only one of those criteria that they're having to look at under this new committee. And so, they got to think about some of the things they've said is the districts have to be reasonably compact, okay? And they have to be contiguous between single-member districts, so they have to fit together. And then they have to preserve communities of interest, which means we have to take consideration all the minority interest and just the communities in themselves and how they exist and prosper on each other. They have to look at the geographical and political boundaries within that. And so those are all things that they have to look at, this committee does, which you can imagine is a huge challenge to do that. As you know, Carlsbad and Roswell are two very unique things because we have 3 Senate districts that actually converge into the city itself. So Carlsbad has 3 different state senators that serve Carlsbad. Roswell's the same way. So how does that look if we start trying to change those districts where we say we have a senator specific to Carlsbad or a senator specific to Roswell? And how does that look when we start pushing districts around? I'm not saying this won't happen, but at the same time, we had a lot of concern before the census came out of how that might look. Now we have a little more to work with in the positive part of that.
Now, is the population growth enough that we need to think about a 4th congressional district in New Mexico, or are we still well within the numbers for 3 districts that we have now?
I believe we're still in the districts. Numbers are still being compiled and still being analyzed, okay? I think we're in pretty good shape. The ideal population for a congressional district is 705,000, okay? And so we're still right in that range as far as CD2 goes. Some of the others are a little less. And so we really don't know right now.
Yeah.
The Sanderoff group is crunching numbers and looking at where we might be. There's interesting how this all works out, but the congressional district 1 is at 694,000. And I just told you 705 is the ideal, okay?
Right.
Congressional district 2, which is us, is 714,000.
Okay.
So we're pretty close there. And then congressional district 3 is at 708. So they're a little over, which they're further north. So I guess what I'm saying is all the numbers are tight right now, and there is a consideration for the percentage of leeway between those that can be taken into consideration. But it's going to be very interesting, because one of the things that I actually told the commission yesterday, which was very interesting to see, is when we talk about the impact of the minority. CD2 right now is 53% of CD2 is Hispanic, and so we have a huge influence of Hispanics down here that will, influence that process, and it's good. It's good because we all understand that we all work together and we're great. I mean, we have a great thriving economy down here because of all the different minorities and people, and they're really not minorities to me. I mean, they're 53% of our population. I don't consider that a minority. The state and some others still do.
Right.
So that's their interests are very important to this state and have to be considered in this process.
Sure. And so what is the timeline now? What this committee's meeting, do they have a timeline?
Yes.
That they have to get their report submitted?
Yes.
They
have to have it in by October the 31st.
Okay.
And that's something that's very interesting, because now that the meetings are over, okay, the meetings are over statewide as far as the initial input from the citizens, okay? Now what happens is the committee will go back, look at all the information that they have. They'll digest that information. They'll compile these 3 maps. Okay?
Right.
It has to be done by October the 31st.
Okay.
But they will start on September the 16th. This is what really condenses it all down, because in the next 3 weeks, the committee has to put the initial drafts together. Then they'll start on September the 16th of making their loop around the state again, giving the citizens one more chance at input on the drafts proposals, okay? And by the way, on October the 5th, there'll be a meeting in Roswell to consider that.
Okay.
Their last meeting, I believe, is on October, let me look so I don't say wrong, October the 15th is the last meeting.
So within
they have
that
2 weeks.
Yeah, with that 2-week period, they're going to have all these meetings.
Yes. And the committee's even been meeting on the weekends. I mean, they had a meeting out of Espanola on Sunday afternoon. So that tells you how crunch time we're in. And so once that's done, then we know the special session will have to meet in December of the legislature to consider all of this and actually decide what they want to adopt.
Okay.
COVID has really pushed all this process together in a weird way and in a challenging way, because of all the meetings of the interim committees and all of this, and how they're having to be shoved together and down, plus the redistricting all comes together in December, because the Legislative Finance Committee meets in December to make final decisions on bills that will be presented during that time as far as the finances of New Mexico. At the same time, the legislature will have to have a special meeting session to decide on redistricting.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see. It would be challenging in itself, but now that you bring in the COVID situation, it could be very challenging to see this happen. So
now you said that this could be a good thing for New Mexico, the fact that our area has been the growth area. What does that? What do you mean by that? What does that mean? That could be a good thing.
I think the good thing is that we will have some degree of comfort that we won't see our districts moved around, and us being drawn into some of the northern districts that may not think the same way we do or have the same approach to life as we do. And that's always that fear that because of the population areas that we see up north, being the decision makers for the people in southeast New Mexico and CD2. And so I think that's the thing I am hopeful for. And I may be, I may be way out there, but I'm trying to be optimistic. And I am a lot more optimistic since I've seen the numbers.
Because most likely some of the population of CD2 is probably going to wind up in a different congressional district.
There's a possibility.
To bring the numbers down and maybe bring up from one of the other.
There's a possibility.
There's a possibility there. But then on the legislative side, I don't think Artesia has had a state senator that represents Artesia for a long time now.
Since Vernon Asbill.
Right. And so do you see, from what you've been seeing in these meetings, what prospects there might be there, or we're just not big enough?
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
I think there are prospects.
Okay.
I think there are still possibilities, but it's a give and take situation. What do we want to give up to get what we might think we want? So until I have better numbers and better ideas, I don't want to really talk about that right now, but I think there's a lot of possibilities. I think there's what the people want's the most important thing, and that's what we'll have to see in the days to come.
Yeah, very good. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back. Stephen McCutcheon was recently on the border of not New Mexico and Texas, but New Mexico and that country that's just to the south of us. And I know you've got some great stories to share with us about that experience. So we'll be back with more here on the Good Morning Artesia radio show.